from the KATC Weatherland, here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back. Well, another nice late summer day. It felt really good this morning. Not so good this afternoon as temperatures got into the low to mid 90s, but lots of blue sky out there. We saw that on our drone shot earlier today across portions of UL. But let's get to the weather wall and we'll find out what we have going on over here as we take a look at the water vapor imagery across the U.S. And again, we're seeing high pressure starting to edge back toward Acadiana as we have high pressure down here in Mexico, and that's going to be expanding toward Texas with time, and then that will keep the dry air in place over the region and will continue to do so in the days ahead. So as we come in, take a look at the satellite imagery. We can see the risk of storms on the periphery of that high coming late this afternoon across the Red River Valley, Oklahoma, Texas, farther north and west. Threat of flooding across portions of the Rockies, some persistent flow there, and some lingering showers along the coast. This feature here down by Florida, we're going to keep an eye on, talk more about that in just a bit. And just to let you know, we continue to run Power Doppler 3 just in case we catch some birds or something like that on the radar during the course of the afternoon hours. So here's what's going on in the tropics. One thing I did notice today, there's a little bit of an inverted trough here on the tail end of this frontal boundary. Always have to watch these features. Don't think anything's going to develop here. More active storms over by Florida. There may be some development there up toward the Carolinas with time. And then we have our hurricane Nigel going from Cat 1 to a Category 2 this afternoon in the open Atlantic, and a tropical wave that's coming off the African coastline that's got about a 70% chance of development. And then we go back to the west, a 30% chance of development in the next 7 days. This is all going to be going into next week, both of these systems, and Nigel will be over with in about 5 or 6 days. And again, the remnant system here by the Azores producing some rain. So the two systems of interest, one by the U.S., Nigel, a fish storm well east of Bermuda up to Category 2, but developing a nice looking eye today. Some colder cloud tops. When you see the magenta here, that's 70 to 75 below zero in the upper atmosphere. Very cold cloud tops, and that's typical when you got a pretty well-defined hurricane. And here we go. We have a pretty well-defined hurricane. Pretty large eye, though. 100-mile-per-hour wind, so that's Category 2. It's expected to stay mostly at Cat 2, probably max out at about 110 or so later on this evening, and then we'll go through a transition period in the North Atlantic, and we'll head maybe all the way up to Iceland as an extra tropical storm down the line. Again, you have your cone. Those are the lines right here, but you can see the winds way outside of that cone area. So again, just a reminder that tropical features go way out beyond where the cone is. Now, we see Nigel moving out to sea as we take a look at the European model here, and then we're watching perhaps low pressure developing somewhere between Florida and South Carolina as we head into the weekend. Here we are Saturday morning. Notice this big, deep plume of tropical moisture. That could be trouble if it works its way inland, but we're thinking this is going to be a hybrid system, not quite purely tropical, but some tropical characteristics. So there could be some wind across the Carolinas going into Sunday, maybe off the northeast U.S., but again, this gets swept out to sea with time. And then that system coming off the African coast, we're still picking up on it. Too early to tell where this is going to go. The next names, if the system on the east coast gets named, or the one out in the Atlantic, would be Ophelia, and the one that follows that would be Philippe. Meanwhile, the Gulf of Mexico looking good as we round out the month. No promises in October, but it looks better and better with each and every passing day. So good news for us. Tonight, upper 60s to near 70. That's still pretty good news. Not as cool, though, as this morning, but still not bad. Back up to about 93 or 94 for your high tomorrow. Mostly sunny skies. Closer to the lower 70s tomorrow night as we get a little bit more of an east-southeast wind in the days ahead. And then back into the mid-90s more than likely for your Thursday as well. Overnight tonight, the coolest spots will be across the northern parishes of Acadiana. We'll say low to mid-60s, 65 in Opelousas, 69 in Lafayette, 68 Jennings, 67 in Crowley and Cecilia. And then as we get down to the coast, we'll see upper 60s to near 70. Cameron right by the water, upper 70s, and much more humid as well. Mid-90s the high tomorrow, anywhere between 93 to 95 looks to be fair game, maybe down to 92 in Crowley. Good for you folks, but again, late summer heat continuing across the area. So overnight tonight, another pleasant evening overall, not quite as cool. And that crescent harvest moon, the waxing crescent harvest moon early in in the evening. And then as we head into tomorrow, it's going to be another nice day. Normal high should be 89. We're 5 degrees above that for sure, but another typical summer day out there. East-southeasterly winds inching up the humidity just a bit, but overall not too bad. And as we move forward, well, what you got out there, you're going to continue to see mid-90s on Thursday. We could get up to 96, maybe 97. Friday into the weekend, we're closer to the low to mid-90s. Rain chances at best, 30% on Monday, and that's a generous 30% at this point. We just can't shake the 90s quite yet, but October is coming.
It sure is.
And so will 80-degree temperatures.
At least a front at some point.
Yeah, and there
right?
will be a front in October. I can't tell you early or late, it'll come.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Rob.